to the Piney Woods Homestead, y'all. I thought we'd start off today showing you the Farrowing barn. I got that thing completely done yesterday, y'all. It looks fantastic. And we're gonna get to some other things today too. Lisa's got some tomato cages to put out. We ran out of room on the cattle panels for tomatoes, and she had about 14 more she wanted to plant. So I ordered her up some tomato cages, some pretty inexpensive ones, and they'll suffice for those tomatoes. I think maybe we'll do a few other things in the garden today. Not really sure yet. I got to get to working on this new feed room now that I've been working on for really about 1.5 years, y'all. I started it, had to stop it, started it, had to stop it again, and now it's about time to wrap it up. And so I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that, because we want to store our feed so that no rodents or anything can get into it and it don't mold on you. But first, I'm going to show you this new Farrowing barn setup. I think you're going to like it. We're tickled about it. Thanks for stopping in. Hit the old thumbs up for us. That helps out a whole lot, y'all. And if you hadn't subscribed, take the time to do that. We'd appreciate it. And if you have, y'all, we appreciate you. Let's take a look at this Farrowing barn. I'll give you a grand tour. From walking in, this is where our live weight scales will be, walking right through here. Got this door boarded up yesterday. That you don't want anything that a hog can put her nose in and lift your gate off. And so it's boarded up. She can't stick her snout through it. Got me a pretty cool homemade latch here. Ain't that slick? And now there is plenty of room in here for Rosie to nest and to give birth to these baby pigs here about, I think, June the 10th. I got to look at the calendar again, but I think it's about June the 10th. Got the safe zone set up in the back, a little corner section, so that those piglets have somewhere to run, to huddle up under a heat lamp away from mama so they won't get laid on. She actually laid on one, her first farrowing, and stepped on one. And so I'm hoping now they do get better whenever they farrow the second time with a second litter. They'll get better. Her feed is still in the corner where it was last time when she farrowed, and that is a pretty good setup. It's actually, I think, a horse feeder, but it works, and it's lag bolted into these 6x6s, and she has not been able to rip it up, or any other pig that's been in here as far as that goes. Over here in this corner, you have to light a catch up, and you can see there's a hook here. That's where a 5-gallon bucket with a nipple drinker on it will sit, hang and sit from there. So she'll get food and water in here while she is nesting and while she's giving birth. And from our experience, while she's in labor, that's all she cares about. She won't get up hardly at all once she lays down to start that labor process. Everything's walled up over here, good ventilation. Got a big wide front door for her to get in and out of with 2 bolt latches, and those work really, really good. And it's walled up on the front as well. Plenty of ventilation, a half wall. So I think it's going to work out pretty good, y'all. Here's your look from the other side. Looks pretty slick. And it's going to work out good, y'all. Tickle with it. Tickle with it. I've still got to come over here. I'm going to cut this section of fence where her water barrel is at right there. Nice wide opening for her to get in and out of. I've already moved the electric so it'll be out of the way. And I'm going to move her water barrel that was right here where these cinder blocks are. It's actually now we're going to put it in the corner over here in front of that front wall. Just kind of open up a little more space at the gate opening on this other side, and make it easier for us to fill up the water from outside versus having to come inside. Sprayed Dixie with a little bit of this Hogmate boar spray this morning. We have found that it will actually encourage them, if that's the right terminology, to come into a heat. And we've been having some difficulty noticing a heat on her on a gilt because you're looking for things to swell up on her hind end, and we've seen it slightly twice now, but nothing like full bore. And so we hit her with that. It just makes them think that there's a boar in proximity, and it will encourage her to come into a heat cycle, because we want her to have consistent heat cycles every usually about 21 days, so that we will know when to bring Samson over when he's big enough in another month or two, probably 2 months before she's going to get bred. But y'all, this farrowing barn, really tickled with it. But for now, we're going to get up to the feed room, and I'll explain a little bit more about what I'm doing up there and why we are building a separate feed room. Y'all, for the past many years, we have been storing bulk feed in Lisa's shop. This is the back side of her shop. And a lot of y'all may not realize this, but she runs a business out of this shop. I will try to remember to put a link to her business page on Etsy in the description of this video. It's Southern Glory Goods and Company, and she does a fantastic job at making handmade, one-of-a-kind designs of antique feed sacks. She turns them into women's handbags of all kinds. And y'all, you can go on there and look. There's no inventory right now, because for the past many months, due to supply chain, due to taking care of me when I was down and out for a bit, health-wise, and taking care of this place, she doesn't have any inventory. But you can go on there and look at all the items that she has sold over the past several years, and you can get an idea of what she makes. And she's got everything ready to go back in her shop, ready to get started. But I've got to get this feed room done so that she can get in there, clean her shop up, get all the feed moved out of her way, so she can get back to work. But yeah, a lot of folks don't realize this, don't know this about Lisa, but she is artsy as the day is long. When we were in high school together, art was her forte. Keep scratching my ear because these biting flies keep hovering around me this morning. And she actually had an opportunity, if I'm not mistaken, to go to an art institute of sorts right out of high school. But you know how things go when you're young. Life has different paths for you to take, and she didn't take that path. But she has, for the most part in her adult life, made a living doing art of some kind. And so go on there and take a look at some of these creations. You will be surprised at what she is able to come up with in her mind and transform it into different types of handbags for women. But we've got to get to working on this building. I had originally built this from sawmill lumber, and it was going to be a photo room for Lisa to take her product pictures. But she has managed for years to take those outside. It all depends on the sun and where it's at, and shading has to be just right. So it's a challenge for her. So my thought was build her a photo room. But we have quickly come to the realization that we need a feed room and possibly a grow room for starting seedlings out if we want to move that out of the house. But I put one of her antique doors on here, which is pretty neat. But on the inside, if you can get in here where you can see just a little bit, this room is, let's see, I think it's 8x8, 6x8, 7x8. I can't remember about putting tape on it. But it's all done out of rough cut. And the bottom of it, the floor is insulated with styrofoam board. And the walls, regular insulation, and the ceiling has some full bubble wrap insulation that my brother actually had and gave it to me, which was a good value. But this room stays cool, even without AC in here. But what I'm going to do today is install a couple of things to make sure that this building doesn't have any mold growing in it. And let me turn the camera around, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you can see where that roll of insulation is standing up in the corner, I've got a light fixture. I'm actually going to take that out. I don't need it. There's plenty of light when you open the door in here, such a small room. And I'm going to build a box out of some scrap lumber up there in the corner. And inside of that box will be a bathroom exhaust fan. And I'll plumb that straight out the wall. And that will be to keep air, hot air, pull it out of here when we do have these 100-degree days. And we've got a spare small dehumidifier that's actually going to go in here as well. And we'll be able to leave that thing running plumbed out the side wall to keep any moisture out of here. All right, so why do you want a feed room versus buying bulk feed in these big old bags that you unload with a big tractor and store it in a shed or something like that? Number one is mold. You cannot feed mold to your hogs. Really don't want to feed it to your chickens either. There are all kinds of mold spores in there that will lay a hurting on your livestock. It'll slow their growth rate. It won't allow them to convert feed to muscle, which is what you're looking for, and you can make them sick. You also are worried about rodents. You don't want a bunch of mice droppings in the feed that you're feeding to your livestock. They'll get in there, they'll pee in it, they will poop in it, and y'all, you're feeding that to your animals, and you don't want to do that. So you want a nice, dry storage area to keep that where it's rodent-free and pest-free. Bugs, too. Bugs get in there and eat your feed, and you're left with a bunch of bugs in your feed that you're feeding to your animals. So this room right here is completely sealed. Every little crack is caulked on it. There's foam board insulation in the floor, I told you. That's caulked as well. There's always a way for something to get in, but nothing's going to get into this room. So I'm going to get to adding a couple of things in here. I'm going to try to work on that exhaust fan, and once I get it up, I'll show you what it looks like. And when I do wire into this building, I'm actually going to pull off a receptacle that's underneath of the main structure and just tie into it, because all I'm doing is tying in a switch and a receptacle. All right, y'all, change the plans. I stepped up into this feed room to get up there and work on this box to put this fan in. And I just happened to turn around. I thought I might want to look, make sure there ain't no snakes or nothing in here, because there are a few cracks at the top of the door up here that I need to put some weather stripping on. Well, there's no snakes, but there is a nice hornet's nest about halfway built. And y'all, I don't feel like getting ate up by hornets. I'm allergic to yellow jackets, so I don't know about a hornet sting. Never had one of those. So I just sent Lisa a text. She's on the way to the grocery store to grab some butter. You know, we don't have any cows, so we buy butter and cheese and milk. I said, go get some. She said, I'm going to get some butter. So I said, get some Hornet Spray, because I need to finish this room, and y'all, I can't get ate up by that. So what I'm going to do is shut this door back nice and gentle like, and I'm going to work on the front steps. I've actually got some steps out in the woods that are treated that came off of the deer stand and chicken coop build. So I'm going to bring them over here, cut them down, and get those installed so I can quit using a ladder and hopping up and in and out of that thing when I need to work. But y'all, I don't want to get ate up by hornets. I know, put the camera in there and just see. And just see if you can see the nest up in there. I don't know if you'll be able to or not. I don't know if you can see the nest. I don't know if you can see the nest in that. We'll find out when I edit the video, and it may be a dead nest. But I ain't taking no chances, y'all. You might be thinking to yourself, what kind of prepared homesteader doesn't have Hornet Spray around? Well, I had about a dozen cans of that stuff for years. But I've used it over the years, and I didn't realize it until just now. So Lisa picked up a can or two. I actually ran across the deal years ago. That's crazy. I was in the Walmart. It's probably, I bet it was 7 or 8 years ago. It might have been less. And they had this big shelf full of Hornet and Wasp spray, and it had coupons that were attached, and it said you can use the coupon when you buy it. Y'all, I got the Hornet Spray for like 10 cents a can, and I wasn't greedy. I didn't buy the whole display out because I thought about it. I only bought like 10 cans. I was like, I'm gonna leave some for other folks because this is too good of a deal. And when I told them at the register, hey, this is a crazy deal, they were like, that's the deal. So that worked out pretty good, so I can't complain. But y'all check these golden friars out. We actually hatched out 19 out of 20 eggs that we put in the incubator. Hatched out. These are from my parents. Got those guys in the brooder. They'll stay in here for about 3 weeks. We're going to brood them for them. Dad is working on his own chicken hut. I went over and helped him with the door on that the other day, getting it built. But let's get over here in the woods, grab these steps, and see if we can put those on. Hopefully there's no hornets over there. All right, I cut that thing into 2 pieces. That way I can take both over there and decide which ends I want to use. But hey, it's good repurposing stuff. I wasn't going to put this deer stand back up anywhere. I want to build a new one anyhow. This one was not in a good spot. And so I want to reuse this. I'm actually going to reuse these 4x4s and stuff to make a new condo for our roosters, because we keep three roosters. Speckles, we keep him because we need to breed back to our speckled Sussexes to get purebred Sussex a new flock. We keep Chief, who's in there with those girls right now, that's making our golden friars. And we keep Rooster just because we like Rooster. We love you, buddy. That's why we keep you. Y'all, actually, he does serve a purpose. He'll go in with our laying hens this fall before they stop laying, and he'll help us build a new flock for next year, because by the time you rear up a new flock, you'll have about 2 years in your current hens, and it'll be time for those hens to become stew hens and have a new flock ready to start laying. But let's get on these steps. Let's see here. Cut these down quite a bit. Y'all, we're going to make this work one way or another. Y'all, that's going to work right there. I'm going to attach this. Now I've got some steep, yes, but they are steps to get in and out, so I ain't got to make that long step. Make it a whole lot easier coming in and out of here. And most of the... I think I ticked off a hornet. So I'm going to try to get this in, but y'all, that dirt's pretty easy to dig, and the reason I'm saying that is because I like watching Ozark's Ethic. I believe they're in Arkansas, it might be in Missouri, I believe it's Tony, I believe that's correct. You can correct me in the comments exactly where you're at there in the Ozarks. But he's got nothing but rocks, y'all. He's jackhammering out there trying to get drainage for his driveway, and I'm just thinking, thank God we don't have all those rocks. We do have a lot of clay, and we've got rocks on certain parts of the property on the hills, but down here in the bottom where we pretty much have settled, it's pretty much rock free. That's pretty good. But I'm gonna get these attached, and now we got a nice way to get in and out if I don't get stung up by these hornets. Y'all, that'll be good enough. 3 steps, kind of high, kind of like getting into a deer stand, because it is part of an old deer stand, but that'll work for getting in and out of here a whole lot easier. All right, now I'll just backfill around it, and that job's done. And once Lisa gets back from town, I'll spray those hornets, and I'll save that project for probably tomorrow. I think it's supposed to rain, and I'd like to do indoor projects when it's raining. When she gets back, we'll go down to the garden, put those tomato cages up, and then we'll wrap things up for the day, at least for the video, that is. Oh, and some people have commented before to me, not on the comments, but that I know personally. They're like, I like that Hank Jr. shirt. How about wearing that some more? I'm like, yeah, I like it too. It reminds me that country boy can survive. Doggone biting flies all over my head. Lisa's gonna do the Florida weave on these peppers. And these peppers, about 50 feet is the rows. And so I'm gonna drive a couple of stakes. We'll put some more in the centers for support. And then Lisa put some tomato cages on these 14 extra tomato plants that she ran. And all I did was put a point on the end of those, drive them in at an angle so she can get a little tension on it when it comes time to, which ain't gonna be long, to start weaving these up. We'll throw this other one in. Good enough. Then I'll come through here later and put you a few more stakes out so you can string your wire.
Yep. And a tip, when you plant your tomato plants and they're small, you can make just like a little triangle with chopsticks, and that will help support them until they get a little bit bigger, because these chopsticks that were way down here, they were actually above the top of the tomato plants when I planted them. So that just gave them a little bit of support until now, especially with the winds we've been having. These. Move them out a little bit. And these are part of my excess celebrity tomatoes. And they're considered a semi-determinate or semi-indeterminate. They actually won't get as big as an indeterminate. They won't continue to grow, but whereas a determinate will give you all your fruit at one time, these will continue to bear like an indeterminate. They can supposedly bear up until frost. That is, if you're not probably in the south here, where by mid-late summer the disease pressure is gonna get really heavy. But maybe I'll get lucky.
All right, y'all, that's going to do it for us today at the Piney Woods Homestead. Hit that old thumbs up for us and subscribe to the channel if you hadn't, and if you have, as always, we appreciate you. Guys, these little $2.50 tomato cages, they'll work in a pinch, but don't expect to get years and years of use out of them. If you're gentle with them, you can get several years. But we were in a pinch and needed a few extras, so we got those yesterday. Guys, we'll see you on the next video. Y'all have a good day and a great week. Take care.